Welcome to Boring History for Sleep here, where at Dozing Historian we invite you to unwind and drift into the past with stories that soothe the mind and ease you toward rest. Before we begin tonight's journey, take a moment to settle in. Perhaps you're curled up under a soft blanket or resting in a quiet corner of your home. I'd love for you to imagine sharing a little piece of your evening with us. Where are you listening from? Maybe a cozy bedroom in New York, a late-night train in Tokyo, or a starlit porch somewhere in the countryside? And what time is it there? Is it the hush of midnight, the calm of early evening, or perhaps the soft light of dawn? Picture yourself in that moment and let it anchor you as we step into a world far colder and wilder than your own. Tonight, we're traveling to the rugged lands of the Vikings, those resilient people of Scandinavia who faced winters fierce enough to test the strongest spirits. This isn't a tale of grand battles or heroic quests, but a gentle exploration of how they survived the coldest nights, finding warmth and endurance in a frozen world. Let the worries of your day slip away, replaced by the faint crackle of a distant fire and the steady rhythm of a Viking village at rest. Close your eyes if you'd like, and let's begin. Our journey unfolds in 4 parts. First, we'll immerse ourselves in the daily life of ordinary Vikings, discovering how they prepared for and endured the brutal Scandinavian winters. Then, we'll follow Ingólfr Arnarson, a man whose vision shaped survival in a new land. Next, we'll unravel the mystery of the Viking Runestones, silent witnesses to their world. Finally, we'll contrast the lives of the elite with those of the common folk, seeing how survival differed across their society. For now, let's step into the heart of a Viking winter, where the cold shapes every moment and survival is a quiet triumph. Picture a small Viking settlement, nestled along a fjord, where the water gleams like polished slate under a pale winter sky. The air is sharp, biting at your cheeks, and the ground crunches underfoot, dusted with snow. It's the heart of winter in 9th century Scandinavia, and the nights stretch long, swallowing the day in darkness. The Vikings, hardy and resourceful, have learned to live with the cold, to bend it to their will. Their survival depends on preparation, ingenuity, and the rhythms of their daily lives. The Viking home, or longhouse, is the center of this world. Imagine standing before one now, a low, sturdy structure, its walls built of timber or turf, sloping gently to shed the snow. The roof is thatched with straw or sod, sometimes sprouting green in summer but now blanketed white. Step closer, and you notice the faint curl of smoke rising from a hole in the roof, the promise of warmth within. These longhouses are not grand, they're practical, designed to hold heat and shelter families through the darkest months. Most are 20 to 30 meters long, though some are smaller, housing a single family and their animals under one roof. The walls are thick, often layered with turf or packed earth, insulating against the wind that howls off the sea. Step inside, and the air shifts. It's warmer, though not cozy by modern standards. The scent of wood smoke mingles with the earthy smell of damp wool and the faint musk of livestock penned at one end. A fire burns in the central hearth, its glow casting shadows on the woven hangings that line the walls, adding a layer of insulation. The fire is the heart of the home, tended carefully to last through the night. Vikings rely on it not just for warmth, but for cooking, drying clothes, and even preserving food. They gather wood in warmer months, stacking it high outside, but they're frugal. Every log is precious, and they often burn peat or dried dung to stretch their fuel. The family moves with purpose, their tasks shaped by the cold. Imagine a woman, her hands calloused from work, stirring a pot of barley porridge over the fire. The meal is simple: grains, perhaps some dried fish or a bit of cheese, flavored with herbs gathered in summer. Food is scarce in winter, so preservation is key. Meat and fish are smoked, salted, or dried in the warm months, stored in wooden barrels or hung from the rafters. The Vikings are meticulous, wasting nothing. Even soured milk is turned into skyr, a thick, tangy yogurt that sustains them when fresh food runs low. Clothing is another shield against the cold. Picture a man pulling on a tunic of thick wool, dyed with madder root or woad to a muted red or blue. Over it, he drapes a cloak, fastened with a bone or bronze pin. Wool is the backbone of their wardrobe, warm even when wet, spun and woven by the women of the household. For extra protection, they wear cloaks, lined with animal pelts, sheepskin, fox, or even seal. Boots are crafted from leather, stuffed with straw or wool for insulation, and greased with fish oil to repel water. Every piece is practical, repaired and reused until it falls apart. Sleep is a communal affair. The family gathers on wooden benches along the walls, covered with furs and blankets. Imagine lying there, the fire's warmth just reaching you, the sound of wind outside muffled by the thick walls. The Vikings sleep close, sharing body heat with each other and sometimes their animals. The livestock, cows, sheep, or goats, live at one end of the longhouse, their breath adding warmth, but also a faint, constant smell. It's not luxurious, but it's effective. The rhythm of their lives revolves around conserving energy, staying warm, and making it through the night. Work doesn't stop in winter, though it slows. Men repair tools or carve wood by the firelight, crafting bowls or handles for axes. Women spin wool into thread, their spindles whirring softly, or weave on upright looms, the clack of the shuttle a steady beat. Children might help, carding wool or feeding the animals. Outside tasks are limited, checking traps for game, clearing snow from paths, or fetching water from a nearby stream, often frozen at the edges. Every action is deliberate, saving strength for the long months ahead. The cold shapes their mindset, too. The Vikings accept hardship as part of life, a constant struggle woven into their days. Yet, they find moments of joy. Imagine an evening when the family gathers around the fire, sharing stories of gods and heroes, Odin's wisdom, Thor's hammer, or the cunning of Loki. These tales, passed down through generations, are a comfort, a reminder of their place in a larger world. Sometimes, a skald, a poet, visits, reciting verses that lull the listeners into a quiet trance. The rhythm of their lives, steady and unhurried, carries them through the darkness. But winter is not without its dangers. Food stores can dwindle, and a failed harvest or poor planning could mean hunger. Illness lurks, especially in the close quarters of the longhouse where coughs spread easily. The Vikings rely on herbal remedies, yarrow for fevers, garlic for infections, but many ailments are endured rather than cured. A storm might bury the settlement in snow, cutting them off from neighbors or resources. Yet, the Vikings are resilient, their lives built on preparation and adaptation. They know the cold will pass, that spring will come, and they hold fast to that hope. As we linger in this longhouse, Imagine the fire's glow fading to embers, the family settling into their furs. The wind hums outside, but inside there's a quiet strength, a sense of endurance. This is the Viking way, practical, unyielding, and deeply tied to the land. Let's leave them now, their breath steady in the dark, and turn to one man whose ingenuity helped his people face the winter's bite. As the fire in our imagined longhouse settles into a soft glow, let's shift our gaze across the sea, to a land even harsher than the Scandinavian mainland, a volcanic island of ice and fire, where survival demanded not just resilience, but vision. This is Iceland, and our story now follows Ingólfr Arnarson, the man credited with being its first permanent Norse settler. His life, woven into the fabric of Viking exploration, shows us how one man's determination and ingenuity helped carve a home in a frozen, unforgiving wilderness. Picture yourself standing on a ship's deck, the salt air sharp in your lungs as we trace his journey. Ingólfr was born around 849 AD in the fjords of western Norway, a time when Viking society was restless, driven by ambition and necessity. His family was prosperous, tied to the land through farming and trade, but Norway was crowded, its arable land scarce. Feuds over territory were common, and Ingólfr, a chieftain's son, found himself entangled in one. The sagas, those oral histories later written down, tell us he was forced to flee after a blood feud, perhaps over land or honor. The details are hazy, like a half-remembered dream, but the outcome was clear. Ingólfr, along with his foster brother, Hjörleifr, set sail to find a new home. Imagine the scene: two longships slicing through the gray waves, their sails taut with wind. Ingólfr's ship is laden with supplies, tools, seeds, livestock, and the hopes of his household. The journey was perilous, the North Atlantic a churning expanse of storms and ice. Yet Ingólfr was no reckless adventurer. He was methodical, guided by stories of earlier explorers like Nadod and Gardar, who had glimpsed Iceland's shores but never stayed. Ingólfr's plan was bolder: to settle, to build a life where others saw only desolation. When he reached Iceland's coast, around 874 AD, he faced a land of stark contrasts. Picture jagged cliffs rising from the sea, their edges dusted with snow. Inland, there are steaming hot springs, their sulfurous scent mingling with the cold air, and vast fields of lava rock, black and unyielding. The sagas tell us Ingólfr sought guidance from the gods. He cast his high seat pillars, carved wooden beams symbolizing his authority, into the sea, vowing to settle where they washed ashore. For 3 years, his men searched, following the currents until the pillars were found at a place he named Reykjavik, meaning Smoky Bay, for the steam rising from its geothermal springs. Setting up a home in Iceland was no small feat. Imagine Ingólfr standing on that rocky shore, the wind tugging at his cloak. The land offered little: sparse grass for grazing, few trees for timber, and winters that seemed endless. Yet Ingólfr was practical, his mind sharp with solutions. He chose Reykjavik for its natural advantages: a sheltered bay for fishing, hot springs for warmth, and flat land for farming. His men built a longhouse, much like those in Norway, but adapted to Iceland's challenges. They used turf for walls, thicker than on the mainland, to insulate against the biting cold. Driftwood, washed up by the sea, became their timber, carefully shaped into beams and tools. Ingólfr's leadership was key. He was not just a settler, but a chieftain, organizing his people with care. His household included his wife, Halve, and their children, along with freed slaves and followers. He divided tasks. Some fished the rich waters, hauling cod and herring. Others tended sheep and cattle, their wool and milk vital for survival. Ingólfr experimented with crops, testing barley and oats in the thin soil, learning what the land could yield. Every decision was a balance, a way to stretch resources through the long winters. The cold was relentless. Imagine nights when the temperature plunged, the sky alive with the eerie glow of the northern lights. Ingólfr's longhouse, like those we visited earlier, was a haven. The family slept close, wrapped in furs, the fire fed with precious fuel. Hot springs nearby were a godsend, used to warm water, cook food, or even bathe, a rare luxury that eased the strain of winter. Ingólfr's ingenuity shone here. He saw the land's potential where others saw barrenness, turning its geothermal heat into a tool for survival. But life was not without hardship. The sagas hint at struggles, failed crops, lost livestock, or illness that struck without warning. Ingólfr's foster brother, Hjörleifr, met a grim fate, killed by his own slaves in a revolt, a reminder of the tensions that simmered in new settlements. Ingólfr, though, persevered. He established a thing, a local assembly, to settle disputes and build community. His leadership drew others, and soon more Norse settlers arrived, following his example. Reykjavik grew, its smoke rising against the snow, a testament to his vision. Ingólfr's story is not one of glory, but of quiet resolve. He wasn't a king or a warrior in the saga's grandest sense, but a man who faced the cold with practical wisdom. His life shows us the Viking spirit, not just in raiding or trading, but in building, enduring, and adapting. As we leave Ingólfr in his smoky bay, imagine him standing by his longhouse, gazing at the horizon, his breath visible in the crisp air. Let's now turn to a mystery of Viking life, one that lingers in the stones and stories they left behind. As we drift away from Ingólfr's smoky bay, let's turn our attention to a quieter, more enigmatic trace of Viking life, one that speaks not through sagas or swords, but through stone. Scattered across Scandinavia, from wind-swept hills to quiet valleys, are the Viking runestones, their weathered surfaces carved with curling runes that tell stories of loss, honor, and survival. These stones, raised in the heart of winter or the brief warmth of summer, hold mysteries that archaeologists and historians still ponder. Imagine yourself standing before one now, its surface cold to the touch, the air thick with the scent of damp earth. What do these stones reveal about how the Vikings faced the coldest nights? And what secrets do they keep? Runestones are among the most enduring relics of Viking culture, over 3,000 of them dotting modern-day Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, with a few in Iceland and beyond. Picture a slab of granite, rough-hewn, standing as tall as a person, its face etched with angular runes in the younger Futhark script, a compact alphabet of 16 characters designed for carving. The runes twist and loop, often framed by intricate knots or serpentine designs, their lines sharp despite centuries of frost and rain. These stones were not mere markers, they were acts of memory, raised to honor the dead, commemorate journeys, or claim inheritance. But their deeper purpose, and the lives they reflect, remains partly shrouded. like a winter fog. Most runestones date from the 10th and 11th centuries, a time when Viking society was shifting, touched by trade, Christianity, and new ideas. Imagine a small community gathering to raise a stone, their breath visible in the chill air. The process was laborious, quarrying the stone, hauling it by sled or cart, and carving it with iron chisels. The carver, often a skilled artisan, worked by firelight in winter, his tools clinking rhythmically. The inscriptions were brief, practical, yet poignant. Gunnar raised this stone for his brother Thorkel, who sailed east and did not return. Such words hint at the constant struggle of Viking life, journeys across icy seas, lives cut short, and the need to endure loss. One mystery lies in why so many stones were raised. Were they solely memorials, or did they serve other roles? Some scholars suggest they were legal markers, proving inheritance in a world without written deeds. A widow might raise a stone to claim her husband's land, ensuring her family's survival through the winter. Others see them as cultural anchors, tying scattered communities together. Picture a village in Uppland, Sweden, where the famous Ingvar runestones stand. Over 20 stones mourn warriors who joined Ingvar the far-traveled on a doomed expedition to the Caspian Sea around 1040 AD. The inscriptions are terse. They died in the east with Ingvar. But they speak of collective grief, a community marking its loss in stone to face the future. The stones also reveal how Vikings survived the cold through their beliefs. Many early runestones invoke Thor, his hammer carved as a protective symbol. Imagine a family huddled in their longhouse, trusting Thor's strength to guard them against the winter's bite. Later stones show Christian crosses, a sign of changing faiths. Yet the old ways lingered. The runes rarely mention the cold directly, but their stories of voyages, battles, or simple lives imply the ever-present challenge of winter. A stone in Denmark reads, "Toki built this stone for his son Asbjørn, who died at home." Perhaps Asbjørn succumbed to illness or hunger, a reminder that even those who stayed behind faced winter's perils. Archaeology adds layers to the mystery. Some stones were painted in bright colors, red, black, or white, making them vivid beacons in the snow. Imagine passing one on a winter's night, its runes glowing faintly under torchlight, a comforting landmark in the dark. Yet not all stones were public. Some were tucked away in remote places, as if meant for the gods or the dead alone. Why? Were they offerings, prayers for protection against the cold, or something more personal? One stone in Sweden, hidden in a forest, bears no name, only the words, "He fought well." The silence of such stones invites us to wonder about the lives they honored. The rune stones also hint at the Vikings' social fabric, which helped them endure. Raising a stone was a communal act, requiring resources and labor. A family might pool their wealth, wool, fish, or furs, to hire a carver, ensuring their loved one's name lived on. This act of remembrance was a way to cope with loss, to find meaning in the face of winter's hardships. The stone's placement, often along paths or near settlements, suggests they were meant to be seen, to guide travelers or mark safe havens. Imagine a weary Viking trudging through snow, catching sight of a runestone's familiar shape, a sign that home was near. Yet some questions remain unanswered. Why do so few stones mention women, when Viking society valued their roles? Only a handful, like the Hasmira runestone, honor women explicitly. Odendisa's husband raised this stone for her, a good wife. Perhaps women's contributions, spinning wool, preserving food, keeping the fire alive, were so woven into survival that they needed no monument. Or perhaps their stories are simply lost, like footprints in melting snow. The runes, for all their clarity, hold back as much as they reveal. As we stand before this imagined runestone, its surface cold and unyielding, we feel the weight of Viking endurance. These stones were not just markers of death, but symbols of life continuing, of communities holding fast against the cold. Let's carry this sense of quiet resilience forward as we explore the final piece of our journey, the lives of the Viking elite, and how their world contrasted with the ordinary folk we've met. As we step away from the silent runestones, their runes fading into the twilight, let's turn our gaze to the broader tapestry of Viking society. Imagine a snow-dusted valley in 10th century Scandinavia, where the lives of the elite and the common folk intertwine yet diverge, each group facing the coldest nights in their own way. The rhythm of their lives, though shaped by the same harsh winters, reveals stark contrasts. Between the warmth of a chieftain's hall and the humble longhouse, between feasts of plenty and meals scraped from dwindling stores. Picture yourself moving through this world, the air crisp, the ground hard beneath your boots, as we explore how survival differed across the Viking social divide. Let's begin with the elite, chieftains, jarls, and their households, who held power through land, wealth, and loyalty. Imagine approaching a grand hall, larger than the longhouses of ordinary folk, its timber walls polished and carved with swirling patterns. The roof, steeply pitched to shed snow, glows faintly with the light of fires within. These halls, often 40 meters long or more, are the heart of elite life, a place of warmth and status. Step inside, and the air is thick with the scent of roasted meat, burning pine and beeswax candles, a luxury few can afford. The hall is alive with activity, even in winter's depths, as the chieftain hosts allies, warriors, and kin. The elite face the cold with resources beyond the reach of most. Their fires burn brighter, fed by stacks of seasoned oak or imported charcoal, traded from distant lands. Servants, often thralls, enslaved through raids or debt, tend the hearth, ensuring it never dies. The chieftain's family wears fine wool tunics, dyed in rich hues of crimson or indigo, layered with furs of marten or bear, their cloaks fastened with silver brooches. Their meals are hearty, venison or pork, flavored with imported spices like cumin, a mark of their wealth. Barrels of mead, brewed from honey, line the walls, and drinking horns pass freely during gatherings. Imagine the clink of metal cups, the murmur of voices reciting poetry, and the warmth that fills the hall, a stark contrast to the icy world outside. Yet, the elite's survival is not just about luxury. Their role as leaders demands they provide for their followers, especially in winter. A chieftain might distribute food or wool to loyal warriors, ensuring their allegiance through lean months. They organize hunts, braving the snow to track elk or boar, their success celebrated with feasts that reinforce their status. Their halls are also shelters. During blizzards, they might open their doors to the community, offering warmth and protection. This generosity, though strategic, binds the group together, a bulwark against the cold. Imagine a chieftain, his beard flecked with frost, standing at the hall's threshold, welcoming a shivering traveler with a horn of mead. Now, let's cross the valley to the world of the common folk, farmers, fishermen, and craftsmen, whose lives we glimpsed in our first segment. Their longhouses are smaller, their resources thinner. Picture a family huddled around a modest hearth, the fire carefully rationed to last the night. Their clothing, though woolen, is patched and faded, the colors muted from years of use. Their meals are simple: barley stew, dried fish, or skyr, stretched to feed many mouths. The scent of damp wool and livestock lingers as cows and goats share their space, their warmth a necessity. These families work tirelessly, their days filled with mending nets, sharpening tools, or spinning thread by firelight, the soft whir of the spindle a constant in their lives. Winter's hardships hit the common folk hardest. A poor harvest or a lost animal could tip them toward hunger. Illness, spreading in the close quarters of the longhouse, is a quiet threat, met with herbal teas or prayers to the gods. Yet, their resilience shines through. Neighbors share what little they have: a sack of grain, a bundle of firewood, knowing survival depends on community. Storytelling binds them too. Imagine a grandmother, her voice low and steady, recounting tales of Freya's wisdom or Thor's battles. The words a comfort as the wind howls outside. These moments, though modest, carry the same spirit of endurance we saw in Ingólfr's Iceland. The contrast between elite and commoner is stark, yet their lives are connected. The elite rely on the labor of the common folk: thralls to tend fires, farmers to grow grain, fishermen to haul cod. In return, the elite offer protection, leadership, and, in times of crisis, resources. But this balance is fragile. A greedy chieftain might hoard wealth, leaving his people to starve, while a generous one strengthens the community. The sagas tell of both: leaders who feasted while others fasted, and those who shared their last loaf. Imagine a winter's night when a chieftain sends a thrall with a basket of bread to a struggling family. The act, a quiet thread in the fabric of survival. The cold, though, spares no one entirely. Even the elite face loss: a child taken by fever, a ship lost to a storm, or a feud that fractures alliances. Both rich and poor turn to rituals for comfort, whether offering mead to Odin or carving runes for protection. The runestones we explored often bridged these worlds, raised by both chieftains and farmers to honor their dead, their words a shared language of loss and hope. In this way, the Vikings, from the grand hall to the humble longhouse, faced winter's bite together, their lives woven into the same enduring rhythm. As we linger in this valley, imagine the snow falling softly, blanketing both hall and longhouse. The fires burn low, the night deepens, and the Vikings, elite and common, settle into their furs, their breath steady in the dark. Let's carry this image forward as we draw our journey to a close. We've walked through the Viking world tonight, from the smoky warmth of a longhouse to the windswept shores of Iceland, from the silent runestones to the halls of the elite. The Vikings faced winters that tested their strength, their ingenuity, and their spirit. Yet they endured, carving out lives in a land of ice and shadow. Their story is one of resilience, of finding warmth in community, in ritual, and in the quiet determination to survive. As you lie there, perhaps drifting toward sleep, imagine the soft crackle of a fire, the distant howl of wind, and the steady heartbeat of a people who thrived against the odds. Let their world fade now, replaced by the comfort of your own. Your bed soft, your room warm, the cold held at bay. Rest well, and let the rhythm of their lives carry you into dreams.